The first ever episode of Time Team, it might have been the second, opinions vary on the subject, was filmed in Ribchester, probably because the producers wanted to make sure that they found something ancient. And, to be honest, you can't really swing a mattock in Ribchester without it hitting something Roman, or breaking a window. The locals round here recycle the stuff. Take the Roman columns holding up the portico at the White Bull, for example. Mick Aston commented on them too. Not that we're doing a recreation scene by scene of Time Team or anything. As it happens, the White Bull also has a ghost. Time Team didn't mention that, but it's right up our street. Several years ago, apparently, the landlord employed a cleaner who walked out after just one morning. She never explained why. Possibly a ghost, or possibly the pay just wasn't up to much. It's hard to say. On another occasion, the landlord was pushed down the cellar stairs by hands unseen. An overcharged drunk, perhaps? And on quieter evenings, around 10 o'clock allegedly, a strange atmosphere pervades the bar. I'm starting to get the impression that one of the customers has got a gob on about something. Or the beer's off. We haven't tried it, so we couldn't comment. According to urban legend, and we all know how accurate they are, at one time the White Bull was used as a jail. A tunnel led from the cellar to Gallows Lane, down which the prisoners were frog-marched to their execution. Unlikely, really, given that they could have just used the back door, but apparently they left the building at 10 o'clock every night. Again, unlikely that they would have been hanging people at that hour, but when has legend ever bothered with historical accuracy? This would explain, insert your own inverted commas, the peculiar atmosphere nowadays, as well as granting the pub some welcome publicity. Also, according to urban legend, the White Bull had a couple of Roman columns to spare, which they gave to Peter Hesketh when he was designing Fleetwood. They ended up in the portico of the North Euston Hotel. Possibly. Along with other Lancashire villages such as Great Eccleston, as well as a White Bull, Ribchester also lays claim to a Black Bull. Not to be outdone, that one's haunted too, by a cavalier called William Dutton, who fought for the Royalist forces. Which is odd, given that the pub wasn't built until 1760, by which point the Civil War had been over for more than a century. That's a long time to wait for a pint. However, the anachronistic ghost now steals things from around the old buildings, such as tweezers and makeup. He also locks barmaids in the cellar. Presumably, William Dutton was a jealous transvestite, but it's the Roman history for which Ribchester's most famous. The Romans invaded Lancashire just shy of 2,000 years ago, circa AD 78, and left behind the sort of indelible mark that a vindaloo from some dodgy curry house in Lancaster would leave behind on a late-night reveller's scuddies. Ribchester was called Bremerton Arkham back in those times when Latin was still taught in schools. God only knows what it means, if anything, but it must have been a bugger on official documents. The town was a cavalry fort, manned, or rather womaned for most of its existence, by the Sarmatian auxiliaries. As you've probably gathered, ancient authorities recorded that the Sarmatians were mainly female warriors. Unusually for Roman forts, although not unpredictably, given the circumstances, archaeological digs have unearthed a surprisingly large number of artifacts belonging to the deadlier sex. Most of the fort lies buried beneath St. Wilfrid's graveyard now, which, as you can probably imagine, makes it difficult for archaeologists to stick their spades in. People get a bit upset about their dead relatives being chucked on spoil heaps. Part of it's also under the museum, which itself is over 100 years old and the only museum in Lancashire dedicated to the Roman period. It's also closed because of COVID restrictions. There are, however, a few interesting Roman tidbits randomly scattered around outside. You can see part of the barracks exposed behind the graveyard, and part of the granaries, where the grain was stored, obviously. You'd have to use your imagination a bit to imagine what life was like for some of the soldiers garrisoned here. Actually, you'd have to use it quite a lot and have quite a large budget as well, but still, 2,000 years ago, eh? There's also the Principia, or headquarters, and the commander's house, or praetorian. I'm gonna be honest, some of these names are difficult to pronounce, so I'm going to stop. Probably the most famous Roman artefact discovered in Ribchester was the ornamental cavalry helmet, discovered in 1796 by the son of Joseph Walton, a local clogmaker. Yes, even the archaeological discoveries around Ribchester are historic. The kid found a whole number of Roman artefacts buried in a hollow, including some patera, or ceramic bowls, pieces of a vase, a bust of the goddess Minerva, pieces of 2 basins, and several plates. Sounds like somebody was having a party. The helmet is now in the British Museum because London hasn't got enough visitor attractions already. There's an almost perfect replica of it though in Ribchester Museum, which is probably better than the original. The bathhouse was built circa 100 AD, by which point most of the soldiers were turning a bit mouldy. A visit to the bathhouse was an integral part of the Roman soldier's life. Here they met with their friends for gossip, business deals, and/or gambling, as in playing dice for money, not gambling like lambs, although who knows, perhaps I did some of that as well. You can still see the remains of the sweating room, or the sudatorium, the warm room, or the tepidorium, and the hot room, or the caldarium. And there we go with those complicated pronunciations again. So it's time to end. There's loads more we could discuss about the Romans in Ribchester, and who knows, on another occasion we might. But not today. We're out of time. Click like, subscribe, go for a pint if you want, watch Del Boy falling through the bar again, because you can never get enough laughs in this world. But don't forget to join us next time for another episode of Lancashire Footnotes.